And yet at the same time, to rile up India, Pakistan is saying that the trophy will be taken to very, very contentious areas, disputed areas, as though to provoke India into giving a reaction. But first, the story of what's exactly happened. All right, before we start the debate, I do want to underline that there are unconfirmed media reports, nothing official from the ICC yet, but unconfirmed media reports that the ICC has told the PCB a complete no-no to these three areas, that is Skardu, Murree and Muzaffarabad, which are part of Pakistan Occupied Kashmir and which was part of this initial Champions Trophy tour. The ICC has reportedly told the PCB that that's a complete no-go area. Let's try and open this up to our guests who are joining us. General retired Syed Hasnain is former GOC of the 15 Corps. Sudhindra Kulkarni, columnist and author, who's also joining us. Major General retired Yasir Janjua, security analyst, will be joining us. And Atul Wasan is a former India cricketer. He'll be joining us as well. Let me start with General Hasnain. You know, the thing is, General Hasnain, you know, the intent of the move by the Pakistan Cricket Board. Just a few days ago, I think a couple of days ago, earlier this week, India had conveyed, the BCCI had conveyed to the Pakistan Cricket Board that the Indian cricket team will not travel to Pakistan for the Champions Trophy, as though in retaliation, now the Pakistan Cricket Board has said that this Champions Trophy will be taken on a trophy tour to places including Skardu, Muzaffarabad and Murree, which are all part internationally recognized as disputed territory between India and Pakistan. The question is, why then are they doing this to almost as if sticking a finger into India's eye?
See, Zakka, thank you first of all for inviting me for your program. Zakka, I needn't remind our viewers about the characteristic of irrationality which exists in the state of Pakistan. And I won't say in the state of Pakistan, in Pakistan's leadership. It's been displayed from time and again over a long period of time. Every time they're confronted with a situation of this kind, they act irrational. Now, instead of placating the ICC, instead of discussing it with the ICC and saying, okay, yes, we can have options, etc., they, as you very correctly say, poking the finger in the eye of the Indian board. And you know the Indian board is a very, very powerful board. And you know that the Indian people are extremely proud of their cricket team. They will not allow the cricket team to travel to Pakistan for the simple reason, which I have written out this morning, opposite to what Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni, who I respect very gratefully, what he has written. Simply this, that you cannot expect us to go and play cricket and give legitimacy to what Pakistan is doing in Kashmir. You can't have both things happening at the same time. You know, playing cricket and enjoying the hospitality of Pakistan there for our team or whatever, and at the same time carrying our fallen comrades on our shoulders to funeral pyres is something which is dichotomous completely. And this is not acceptable to the Indian people or to the Indian government. So to answer your specific question, this particular aspect of taking it into Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, I don't even call it disputed territory. It is Indian territory. And I would not like anything to do, this area has anything to do with the ICC World Cup.
So let me ask Mr. Kulkarni, of course, we know your views that you believe that India should go to Pakistan, travel to Pakistan to take part in the ICC Champions Trophy. Be that as it may, the timing of this announcement today by the PCB that the ICC Champions Trophy will be taken to, among other places, Murree, Skardu and Muzaffarabad in Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. The timing of it right after India announced and made it clear that it's not going to participate in the Champions Trophy because of security concerns, because of diplomatic strains. Why should we not believe that the Pakistan Cricket Board is doing this just to rile India up?
I entirely agree with you that the Champions Trophy tour simply cannot go to Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. And the ICC, as you yourself mentioned earlier, has made it clear that the trophy cannot travel to PoK, and it's not Pakistan's trophy, it is ICC trophy, and Pakistan simply has to abide by what the ICC says. And the sooner Pakistan gets over this Kashmir obsession, the better it is for both Pakistan and for India-Pakistan relations. This is as far as the trophy tour is concerned. Now, the main issue, whether India should have participated in Champions Trophy, which is now hosted by Pakistan, at least as far as November 2024 is concerned, my view has been that India has indeed participated in cricket tournaments, both on Indian soil and Pakistani soil, with Pakistan. It is not a new thing. Terrorism indeed has been, Pakistan is guilty of sponsoring terrorism, exporting terrorism to India. It must stop, not only for India-Pakistan relations, but for Pakistan's own interest. Because terrorism is affecting Pakistan domestically as well as its international reputation. And many sensible people in Pakistan know this very well. But the point I'm making is that since the end of 1970s, when Pakistan started this proxy war against India, India and Pakistan have played cricket. Not only played cricket, but even other sports. Let me mention this to you, and for the benefit of your viewers, that as recently as this year, this February 2024, Indian tennis team traveled to Pakistan to play in the Davis Cup. Now, terrorism was indeed an issue, but India did not make it an issue. India played. So I am saying that Champions Trophy, which this time is being hosted by Pakistan, India should have gone.
But Mr. Kulkarni, can I just ask for a okay 30 seconds.
One important point.
30 seconds.
If Indian government has specific intelligence that there is a security threat to the Indian team this time in February, March 2025, then of course I will not be supporting the argument that India must travel.
Fair enough. No. My point is the Indian government, the BCCI, have made a very clear distinction. It is not that they are saying we will not play Pakistan. In fact, the Indian cricket team has played Pakistan. They've played them in the UAE. They've played them in Australia. That famous match where Virat Kohli, saw us over the line. That was again played on neutral venue. The point that the BCCI and the government of India have been making is security concerns, because obviously, the Indian cricket team is very much under the public eye all over the world, not just here in India, certainly under the eye of the Pakistani public as well. And therefore, the security guarantee is a big matter of concern for the government of India, and therefore, they don't want to take any chances. That's number one. Number two, cricket is the biggest sport. There is monies to be made by way of satellite rights, by way of ticketing rights, by way of all kinds of monies to be made if the cricketing team of India were to travel to Pakistan. Now, the point that the government is making is you cannot be making those monies over dead Indian bodies. Isn't that a fair argument?
No, if this question is addressed to me, let me make this very clear. We should be if we are saying that terror and sports cannot go together, then the logical stand would be that India will not play against Pakistan no matter where, whether it's on Indian soil, Pakistani soil, or third countries. But India has not been doing so. India has played Pakistan in UAE, in Sri Lanka, and as I mentioned, even on Pakistani soil, even after Pakistan attacked India in 1993, in 2001, there have been a series of terror attacks in India. But Indian governments have allowed Indian cricket team to travel to Pakistan. Narendra Modi's own government has allowed Indian cricket team to play against Pakistan on other venues. So the argument that terror and sports cannot go together, this doesn't hold.
Okay.
And as I
let me ask
tennis,
Atul Vasan. You mentioned that point. The tennis team went to Pakistan just earlier this year. But Atul Vasan, so there is what you heard from what Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni has said. But at the same time, this whole business where just days after India conveyed to the PCB that the Indian team will not be travelling to Pakistan for the Champions Trophy, therefore they have to make alternate arrangements, neutral venue, wherever that might be, UAE or wherever. Just days after that, the Pakistan Cricket Board today to announce that the Champions Trophy will do a tour of places including Skardu, Muzaffarabad and Murree, which are all part of Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. Shouldn't India and the BCCI see that as an outright provocation, perhaps in response to India saying that it will not travel, its team will not travel to Pakistan?
Of course, this is quite naive for us to even imagine that this is quid pro quo, and this has been going for the longest time. That first people were asking BCCI, will Indian team go to Pakistan, and then eventually everybody found out that it is beyond BCCI's hands. It is a government's policy, and I think I'm not juvenile or naive enough to say that it's a security problem. I think there's no security problem there, because Pakistan has proved that. The problem is that once we start playing cricket, this is the kind of lollipop which goes and it sends a signal that things are okay. And I'm very, supportive of the government that we should not play. We should not go to Pakistan. We should stop playing Pakistan at all. We should not play Pakistan in any other thing, because under the radar, a lot of things are happening. Only when the cricket is played, people think, oh, this is starting and now relations are getting better. So cricket has been used for the longest time to be that tokenism. And I'm glad that we have taken a call, because no matter we go there, no matter what we do, the things are the same. And how do you feel, somebody is losing a young man on the border, and next day we are playing against Pakistan? And all these neutral venues also is a proxy, is a surrogate thing. You stop that. And, if you see the fixing of the fixtures, India and Pakistan play twice every time. This is the biggest kind of fixing going on. So this surrogate, like you want to sell pan masala, you sell elaichi. You want to sell beer, you sell soda. So if you want to play Pakistan, play in neutral values, play in multiple tournaments. We should not play at all, because we can do without Pakistan. And we should take everything that gives them the revenue, pleasure, whatever. We should take it away.
Okay, let me ask Major Janjua. Major Janjua, this is the overwhelming, almost prevailing sentiment here in India, that India should not be sort of normalizing ties with Pakistan by playing cricket, because ultimately, let's face it, I mean, it's not like tennis or kabaddi or badminton. It is the most followed sport, both in India and in Pakistan. And certainly the men's cricket team is the most followed in both countries. The point is that on the one hand, you cannot say that, oh, we should resume talks. On the other hand, there is no evidence to show, Major Janjua, that Pakistan has stopped its tacit backing of terror attacks. There have been a number of terror attacks that have happened just this year in Jammu and Kashmir. And most importantly, this whole obsession with Kashmir, taking the trophy to PoK, just weeks after Kashmir has had peaceful elections. There is now a new government there under a political dispensation which is not exactly favorable to the BJP or to Mr. Modi. Free and fair elections. And yet, Pakistan continues to insist, oh, we'll take the trophy to parts of Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. Isn't that, like I said, provoking India?
Zakka, thank you very much for having me on the program. I'll start with your last comment and then go backwards, because that's the one I can easily remember, about the elections in the Indian occupied Kashmir. I would be very, very appreciative of you if your journalism or journalistic standards would require you to at least state the facts. Don't you know what's going on in the the State Assembly in Kashmir? If you are still in denial, that's your choice. I'm not going to sit here and argue about that. But since you think that that's a government that has been installed and everything, so if you think so, then listen to the voices of the people in the Kashmir Assembly. Moving on about talking about terrorism. Do we all
Zakka,
not
No,
know
once again, Major, what do you mean?
Zakka,
I mean,
please.
what
Bring
is
this issue
this
into this
channel.
program is an incorrect intervention.
I have a lot of respect for this channel, Zakka.
I will allow you to
All
make
of
your point, but can you
analysts or
please
guests
clarify on what
I
you
would
mean
not-
You are
by
commenting on
what
free
is
and fair elections
what
in
is
the
what is
elected
happening in the assembly? What is happening in the
If
assembly?
that's how you want to have this conversation, be my guest.
Major, I will allow you to make your point very respectfully, but
Because-
please clarify on what do you mean by what's going on in the assembly? Aren't you guys
Right.
seeing what is going on? What is going on in
I-
the
Can I
I
ask
will
them a
clarify
question
that
here?
point
Do
as
they
well.
believe in
One
Santa
second.
Claus and
I would
unicorns
only
also?
request
One second.
that your
Let
guests,
Major make his point. Yeah.
your guests listen to me just as I was listening to them and I did not intervene.
Sure.
And because I find this channel very decent and the conversations here I like, so I would not want this to become like any other channel that
go
I
ahead.
don't want to name.
Go ahead.
Okay, about terrorism. Are we talking about terrorism? And we are not. If you have closed your eyes or you think you can fool the world, I'm sorry. What you're doing in Pakistan, especially in
Zakka,
Balochistan,
let's stop
and
this
especially against the
conversation, Zakka.
Chinese,
Zakka, let's stop
again
this
you are talking.
conversation. I object to it. As
No,
an
you
Indian,
can't
I
object to
cannot
it. You
stay
can't
on the
object
channel
to
and
it.
hear
Yes.
this.
General,
I
General,
did not object to
General,
your
General, I think
ideas.
we should,
If you talk like this, I will respond back in the.
yeah, General,
language.
I'll,
I'm
no,
talking,
one
you will
second.
not talk.
Let's have some calm.
We are going outside the subject completely.
Let the
I will
major,
not let this happen.
let the
If
major
this
make
guy
his
talks
point.
back
Let the major
when
make his
I'm
point.
talking, I'm
And
going to give him what he deserves.
I will give ample
deserve
chance
this.
to General Hasnain to respond to what Major Janjua is saying. But Major Janjua, let's stick to the issue. I asked you about cricketing ties. Let's talk about that. We've had umpteen debates and discussions
So
on
coming to the
in the
cricketing
state of
ties.
political ties. Let's talk about the cricketing ties.
Zakka,
Yes.
coming to the cricketing
Yes.
ties.
Yes.
You know the Olympics logo is an embodiment of unity, and all over the world, globally, politics is kept aside from sports. It is only Indian government which is doing this. Despite the fact we showed a lot of magnanimity last year when we went to attend the World Cup in India. We thought and we were given the assurances that come next year, which is 2025, when there will be ICC World Championship or cricket ICC Champion Trophy, Indians will respond in a similar way. But I think you have not, and doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If India doesn't want to come, skies will not form. It's India which is going to be on the loss. The loss for India is 3 times more than what Pakistan is. PCB is going to make the loss.
Okay.
And it's not about financial losses. It's about this sport should not be politicized. But your government has politicized it. Fine, that's fine.
Okay.
That's your
So
choice.
let me
You don't want
now
to come?
ask General Hasnain to respond to that. To the point that Major Janjua made, if the Pakistan team can travel to India, why can't the Indian team travel to Pakistan?
Zakka, I mean, that's the simplest of questions to answer. We assured Pakistan when they came here last year, simply for the reason that India is just normal. We don't have a huge law and order or a public order problem going on in all those centers where the matches were played. But the 3 areas in which, the 3 cities in Pakistan in which these matches are going to be played have got a history of sub-conventional issues which have been going on for years altogether there. Is there a guarantee? Every second day there's a suicide attack in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or some other part of Balochistan, etc. You want our team to go and play there? Can the Pakistan team government guarantee their security? I don't think there's anything of that kind which can happen. Secondly, we may have given guarantees last year that we will travel to Pakistan in 2025, provided things are normal. There's abnormal conditions in Pakistan, and Pakistan has chosen to up the ante in Jammu and Kashmir after the elections in the month of May and now after the assembly elections. And as far as the issues of Jammu and Kashmir are concerned, I can separately argue this with anyone from Pakistan you want. Right? I don't want to, because that's not the subject we are discussing here. We don't want to politicize. They are talking about not politicizing the issue. Look at the start point of the major's arguments. Well, what's happening in the assembly? The assembly is an elected assembly, not like your appointed assembly, where you have banned one political party from appearing in the elections. So let's stop arguing all these issues out here.
No, Major, the point is that either you keep sport and politics separate, or one could argue that sport and politics has never been separate. I mean, you look at, the Moscow Games of 1980, the Los Angeles Games of 1984, sport and politics have always been mixed. The Munich Games in 1972. The fact of the matter is that ultimately sport is just a subset of national security and national interests. And the government of India has made a call that in national security, in national interests, that the cricket team should not be playing Pakistan, should not be traveling to Pakistan to play against Pakistan in that country because of national security reasons. And the board, it's not the board's decision. It's the government of India's decision. And the government of India has taken into consideration security and sentiment. Public sentiment today in India, even today, overwhelmingly is against playing Pakistan in Pakistan.
No. Zakka, if I can answer.
Yeah.
If you talk about the public and leave the governments aside, leave the Pakistani government and leave the Indian government aside, the people-to-people contact between Indians and Pakistanis has always been very good. Even today, even as we speak today, Sikh Yatris are in Pakistan at the birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Ji, 551st birth anniversary. Thousands of Sikh Yatris are there. Only last month, the English cricket team was here in Pakistan. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about the security threat to the Indian team? Give me a break, please. Let's not talk about that, because this is done and dusted and over. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the historical things. We all know who was behind the Sri Lankan cricket team attack in Lahore in 2009. We all know about it. I'm not going to go into it.
No, what do you mean? No, come on. What are you insinuating? No, come on. You can't make all of these complete. No, come on.
Separatist elements.
Major. With due respect. Let's not fly kites here, okay? I mean, we're all adults in this room, in this conversation. Let's not fly kites. The 2009 attack, I covered it in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankans were completely rattled. I spoke to members of that cricket team, the Sri Lankan team that came there. They were completely rattled. Their colleagues were injured in that attack. And to sit here 10 years later or 15 years later and to kite fly, I think is a great disservice to the people who went through that attack. But be that as it may, Atul Vasan had a question for you.
This gentleman, I don't know.
Major Janjua,
As soon as I start taking him seriously, he comes up with some blunders. First he said that India is going to lose 3 times the money of Pakistan. Please, I hope he sees this replay of this show and gets embarrassed. Secondly, now I was about to take him seriously again, and he started about this Sri Lankan attack. So I think this kind of the comedy in this show. I'm enjoying also, but I'm just saying that it's nothing to do with security. We are sulking, we are being snobbish, we're not going.
No, but Atul, what about the specific point that the Major made? No. New Zealand is going to Pakistan and playing, England is going to Pakistan and playing, Australia is going to Pakistan and playing. Why can't the Indian team play? That's the point he's making.
What examples are you giving? This is a separate thing. We have got other issues going on, and this is part of that. Don't just be so childish to believe that this is only security issues. We are sulking because this thing is not betting. They're upping the ante, and we are playing. And I think eventually you just see that India is not going to play Pakistan. And Pakistan, why is Pakistan not brave? He says, okay, we will not move the cricket away from Championship Trophy. Let India not come. Can they do that? Then they said before, they also threatened that if India doesn't come to Pakistan, we will not come to play World Cup. Eventually they had to do. So when you've got dysentery, don't put Naswar in your nose.
Okay. Sudhindra Kulkarni, every government has to be responsive to what is public sentiment. The fact of the matter is that Mr. Vajpayee went to Lahore, look at what he got in return. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh went all the way to Sharm el-Sheikh, look at what he got in return. Prime Minister Modi went to Lahore, look at what he got in return. Prime Minister after Prime Minister in this country over the last 30 years or so has moved the needle forward, has extended the hand of friendship, and they ended up, getting bitten. So why then do you expect the government of the day or public sentiment in this country to turn? Because every time it's happened, it's only resulted in one terror attack or another.
Zakka, you're missing the main point. You know, Pakistan cricket, PCB, is run by the government and government is run by the army. Just work out the mathematics.
Okay, let Mr. Kulkarni respond.
See, I made this point earlier that India-Pakistan relations are indeed plagued by the problem of terrorism and terrorism coming from Pakistan. Now, this is a complex issue. In spite of terrorism being a problem for the past 4 decades, India and Pakistan have played cricket, have played other sports, have had cultural relations, and had even political talks. Now, the point that you made that Vajpayee went, no solution. Dr. Manmohan Singh called Pakistani leaders, no solution. Modi ji went, no solution. Does it mean that we stop talking to Pakistan? Pakistan is our neighbor. Can we wish away the fact that Pakistan is our neighbor? We have to make every effort to ensure that our relations with Pakistan become normal. Of course, it is mainly the responsibility of the Pakistani government. Now, there is also a role that people can play, the people of India and the people of Pakistan. And for this reason, our relations should not be left only to government to government relations. People have a role. Therefore, cricket, cinema, trade, business, all this should continue so that we build mutual trust, mutual goodwill, and one day, you know, the problems that we have can be solved.
General Hasnain, this school,
last 25 years, and it's like watching paint dry. You know, because we have said this. I was also of this viewpoint that we should play and get things better. But suddenly, when we start playing, things don't get better. But the signal that goes, it gets better. But they are at it the same point. So now we have decided that we will just not play. You know why America just keeps on adding countries to NATO? Because they can. That's why.
General Hasnain, this whole school of thought which Mr. Kulkarni has just elucidated, that look, you don't have to stick to just one issue. After all, you know, you don't get to choose your neighbors, you can choose your friends. Why don't you improve people to people, you know, civilian contacts, so on and so forth, sporting ties, etc. These are low-hanging fruit. How would you respond to that argument?
Zakka, first of all, I would start by saying none of these are low-hanging fruit, right? None of them are low-hanging fruit. Secondly, if you have a strategic sense, if anyone has a strategic sense, he will tell you that people-to-people contacts don't dictate relations between nations. They are an aspect of it. They are one of the factors in it. Ultimately, it is the government-to-government relations which makes the whole thing. Secondly, can you deny geopolitics? Geopolitics is a part of this entire thing. And when you are looking at geopolitics, you are looking at strategy. So you can never define the thing to say that we did this in 1993, we should do it now. We did this in 2002, we should do it now. These situations are dynamic, completely dynamic. You have seen, last year we may have promised to Pakistan, yes, we will travel. This year, what has Pakistan done in Kashmir after the Lok Sabha elections and after the Assembly elections? The situation has completely changed. So the government of India, and you've got complete peace on the line of control, incidentally. You have complete peace on the line of control. Okay. But despite that, we are not saying that, we have a peaceful relationship with Pakistan. So while I am one of those who always advocates complete peace with Pakistan, what a wonderful environment, what a wonderful situation we would have in South Asia. But we know that there is a layered deep state in Pakistan. That layered deep state will not permit this to happen. There are different players, there are different stakeholders in this entire game. That keeps this whole thing going.
Major Janjua, if India were to take Pakistan at face value, if Pakistan was indeed sincere about turning the page and moving forward, we saw at least a dozen terror attacks in the run-up to the election. Even after the election, there have been at least 3 or 4 major attacks that have happened in Kashmir. How should India take Pakistan at face value when this terror tap has not been turned off?
Zakka, we can go on and on making counter blames or counter claims. We have provided the dossiers even to United Nations and to all the European ambassadors in Pakistan on multiple occasions, right from the Army Public School attack in Peshawar, right up till now. Every time there is terrorist activity in Pakistan, there's an Indian hand behind it. But that does not mean we have stopped living. With all these difficulties and trials and tribulations, we still are going on. Our economy is in bad shape. We know it. We never compare it with you. But that does not mean we stop living. And that is what I will tell you, that this terrorism, if you want to talk about it, then talk about it in a very, very objective manner. Then talk about it in the way it demands. Then talk about it in the light of the United Nations resolutions. Then be factual. How can you sit here on
Sir,
television?
there were
You will not like it.
166
Obviously, you will not
people
like
who
it.
died in
How can you sit here
Mumbai.
and say,
Zakka,
And
Pakistan
today,
occupied
15
Kashmir
years
is
later,
also
even today,
when you know there's
for
an
those
Indian resolution-
Major,
the United Nations resolution
with due respect,
unheard of.
166 people died in Mumbai. It's been 15 years. Not
Zakka.
one person has been held culpable in Pakistan for that. 15
My
years.
dear, can I say something, Zakka?
Yeah,
I
Atul,
think
yeah, final
you're
word,
wasting-
and then I'm gonna wrap
you're
up after
wasting,
that,
you're
yeah.
wasting your time because you can wake up somebody who's sleeping. You cannot wake up somebody who's acting to sleep. So why you waste your time? We need 6 programs and you'll be still at it. I was 23 years old when I started doing these shows. I'm 57 now. So spare me. Don't call me if you have to just talk rhetoric.
No. Look, I do concede that there is a school, a very strong school of thought that India should travel to Pakistan. Mr. Kulkarni represents that school. I have no missive about it. The point is that it has to be backed by sound logic and it has to have a certain rationale. Right now, I don't see that environment where India can travel to Pakistan and the Indian cricket team can have a match in Pakistan. And the fact that India conveyed this just 2 days ago, and now we have this whole thing about Pakistan saying, oh, we will take the trophy to Skardu and Muzaffarabad and other places, which clearly they know will be viewed very negatively here in India, is politics, is their way of trying to say that, look, if you are not going to cooperate, then we will also behave like an
they're pretty good at they're pretty good at cutting their nose and spiting the face.
Okay, so let's see how this story plays out, whether or not this Champions Trophy will actually proceed, whether India will go to a neutral venue and play Pakistan. Those things are still to be figured out. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much to all our guests, General Hasnain, Major Janjua, Atul Vasan, and of course Mr. Kulkarni for joining us. Let's move on to the other big story. It's a massive political controversy in Karnataka over the renovation of the Chief Minister's office. Around 2.5 crore rupees was spent on the renovation of the office in the Vidhan Sabha complex, including luxury furniture, lighting. It's put the Karnataka Chief Minister, who calls himself a socialist, in a tight spot. The BJP has alleged that the money which was to be used for the development of the state and amid all the financial crisis that the state is going through was used for giving a luxurious look to the Chief Minister's office. On the back foot over this splurge, the Chief Minister's office has now claimed that the renovation took place owing to seepage and water leakage. It has nothing to do with luxury. The Congress even pointing to the lavish homes of BJP leaders. But even so, the question that needs to be asked is 2.5 crores to renew an office room, is that justified?
जो करप्शन स्कैंडल में अटक लिया है सिद्धरामैया जी, और दूसरी तरफ जिस तरीके से पैसे को बर्बाद कर रहे लोग, इससे पता चलता है सिद्धरामैया जी का ओरिजिनल फेस क्या है। तो उसको मुकुटा पूरा उतर चुका है।
You're not giving people rice. You're not giving them basic necessity. Keeping an election agenda just one day before elections, you're giving them the 2,000 rupees Grah Lakshmi. At this point, spending such a lavish amount on your own expenditure for your own office is a questionable thing.
I think there is no connection between Bengal infrastructure work and refurbishment of our CM's office. And that was not his personal office. Any chief minister who comes will occupy that office. It's not for him, anybody else. And I think such trivial issues being raised by BJP is completely unnecessary.
All right, let's go across to our guest. Bhaskar Rao is spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP. Deepak Timmaiya is spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress. Mr. Timmaiya, let me start with you. Premium luxurious lighting, new flooring and ceiling, premium electrical fittings, premium bathroom fittings. Is this what the Chief Minister and his office require at this point of time when the state is in deep financial crisis? Infrastructure is collapsing. We've seen what the rain has done to the city of Bengaluru. And of course, it's got to a stage where the Congress is not even able to give its guarantees, succeed in implementing all its guarantees because of the financial situation of the state. And you have all of this luxurious lighting and bathroom fittings for renovating the Chief Minister's chamber. Is this justified?
Mr. Jacob, good evening. First of all, I'm really, surprised to know that you have the kind of data that many people don't have, and particularly the government doesn't seem to have, that Karnataka is in total shambles. Because today, as you yourself know, that there have been so many reports of, how Karnataka's economy is doing so well, and particularly after the guarantees, that most people have not been complaining about the kind of, money that they've been getting, or the kind of security that they've been having, to the reinforcement of economical, empowerment. And today, if you say that 2.5 crores is too big a money to refurbish Karnataka Chief Minister's office, I can only think of it as a very sad joke, because I think Karnataka as a state deserves a Chief Minister's office that behoves of Karnataka's stature in the country. And today, when so many people are coming to the state, so many people are coming and meeting the Chief Minister, and particularly foreign delegates are meeting him in that particular office, which has a lot of dust and a lot of wood that is rotting. I'm sure that, we can always find reasons.
Mr. Timmaiya, your own leaders, the Deputy Chief Minister is saying we can't give free travel this year because the Exchequer does not have money. Mr. Parameshwara, the Home Minister, is saying that we can't meet some of the guarantees because there's no money. Mr. Kharge, your national president, is saying that Congress should not make such empty guarantees. I mean, it's not me saying this. Your own leaders are saying this.
Let me tell you,
surely there's a reason why they're saying this. Even a poor person dresses up when he or she actually meets somebody very important, because, sometimes even to get money, you'll have to present yourself in a better way. And Mr. Bhaskar Rao also knows very well, and we are talking about the Karnataka Chief Minister's office and not Mr. Siddaramaia's private office. Even I am very proud of the Vidhan Saudha that we have. And when Vidhan Saudha was built, people criticized. When Bangalore bus stand was built many years ago, it was criticized. When Krishna was given a golden chariot, it was criticized. But nobody criticizes Mr. Modi's colossal new parliament building or his plane or anything, because it is very easy to criticize. So, Mr. Bhaskar Rao, I mean, the Chief Minister is the first citizen of the state. Surely he deserves to have an office where investors from around the world, ambassadors are all coming. So what's wrong with it? 2.5 crores is not that big an amount, Mr. Rao.
It is way beyond 2.5 crores. That's what the amount has been shown. I am amused that Deepak has not been briefed properly before coming to this place here. The Chief Minister's socialistic ideals of how the people of the state should be treated and how he himself should be treated, that has been thrown to the wind. And there is a saying in Kannada, "Hottege hittilla, juttige mallige hu," means it's translated as there is nothing for the stomach, but there's plenty of flowers for the head over there. So that is the kind of attitude the CM is trying to portray, that he wants to receive a lot of people who will come and invest in the state by coming and seeing his office over there, rather than the quality of the state government over there. It is nothing but pompous administration which they want to show off. Their own ministers are saying there is not much of money to spend for the basic welfare, and it is absolutely uncalled for, this kind of expenditure. And more so, what is more serious is that they are trying to tinker with the basic structure of Vidhan Saudha by altering some of its figures, the features there, which has not been done for over half a century. That is absolutely uncalled for.
Mr. Rao, when the BJP was in power, you moved the entire assembly to Belgaum. At that time, you were also criticized. That took tens of hundreds of crores to move the whole assembly. What was the need?
That was to assert the possession of Belgaum. That was to show that Belgaum belonged to Karnataka. We spent almost 800 crores for that. That is 400 crores for the building. And it is an annual feature which all the parties do. That is a political statement which we make to claim But here, right inside Bangalore, changing your vehicle, refurbishing your office, it's all it's all uncalled for over there. Especially at a time when the state is passing through a crisis of this kind, and you don't make a public display of ostentation. Once upon a time, Arvind Kejriwal was criticized. No, what is so different about this present chief minister? Earlier, the chief ministers never did such kind of ostentatious expenditure to see this. Look at the kind of all imported furniture they are getting it over here to show this waste of money when the state is having serious financial problem. Not
Mr.
expressed by
Damaya,
me, but expressed by
one part is the
Deputy Chief
financial
Minister,
troubles of the
Home
state.
Minister, they are
The other
expressing
part
this.
is
So,
look at you around Bangalore. Road congestion,
hear you
traffic
properly,
snarls, lack of proper
there is no
signage
money to
affecting the IT
attend
corridor,
to immediate
improperly designed flyovers and subways, urban flooding and persistent potholes. In fact, one bout of rain just a few months ago, we saw how the ring road was affected. This is what the average resident of Bengaluru has to suffer.
See,
And the
what
chief
is the
minister
rest-
is asking for luxury bathroom items and luxury electrical fittings.
Deepak and Chief Minister are comfortable.
Let Mr. Damaya respond now.
Mr. Jacob, Mr. Bhaskar Rao, who is a learned person, very well informed. I'm of course sure that, he knows a lot of things than a lot of other people because he was the commissioner of the city also. But let me tell you one thing. What is being spent? I don't think it's an extraordinary amount, and I think that kind of money can be spent. And let me tell you, just because the state may not be able to do some things, at least you need to have an office to give confidence to the people. Why did we build such a huge Vidhan Saudha when perhaps, Karnataka didn't even have the money perhaps to build even small houses? It's because it is also the honor and the dignity of the state. I'm sure that, Mr. Bhaskar also agrees that, this is not a permanent thing that Mr. Sidramaya has made for himself. It is for the state of Karnataka. Even a plane that could have been bought by somebody or even the Prime Minister can go waste after some time. But let me tell you, in this case, the furniture was coming off, the wood was wearing off, and so many things. But let me tell you, if at all you can ask this question and the Congress government is answering it, we should appreciate it. Because let me tell you, when you start talking about, the rains and so on, the rains have happened all over the world. And even in the US, in France, in Spain, people have not been able to handle it. And do you think that we have not handled it well?
Forget about the rains. What about the daily traffic snarls?
Not just
To cross Silk Board flyover, people take a lifetime. To cross Ebal flyover, people take a lifetime.
The Commissioner of Police of Bangalore, in Bangalore city, he was not able to control the traffic. He knows the problems of traffic are not from yesterday, not because of Mr. D.K. Shivkumar or Sidramaya. It is an endemic problem which should be solved.
So the point is that governments are elected to make an attempt to address those problems. Okay, Mr. Bhaskar Rao, please respond. They're saying these are endemic problems. Why can't the Chief Minister renovate his office?
Only response is that at these times, such kind of expenditure is not called for. Such kind of expenditure is not called for. It is like teasing the public, teasing the people that, well, to hell with you and to your discomforts, I am going to live a good life over here. What kind of message are you? You are making a mockery.
One at a time, please. One at a time, yeah. Mr. Rao.
You're making a mockery of ordinary citizens. Then to hell with you and be happy with your discomforts, be with your waterlogged places, be in your traffic jam. I am going to lead a good life. And it is not an argument to state that the Chief Minister of Karnataka, let Mr. Sidramaya furnish his own house with 5 crores, 10 crores, 15 crores. But the Chief Minister ought to give some kind of a message to the people that I am with you, I am sensitive. This is extremely insensitive to engage in such kind of expenditure.
Yeah, Mr. Damaya, it sends out a very tone-deaf message that when people are struggling, the Chief Minister is splurging on renovating his own office.
And arrogance. And then also justifying it.
People have to do things. Even if you are in poverty, people have ice creams. People do a lot of other things. But I'm not giving it as an excuse.
You sound like Marie Antoinette. If they don't have bread, let them have cake.
One moment. Maybe that could be a bad example, but I could still say one thing. Let me tell you, when COVID was raging, the BJP government spent about 4.5 crores for the Chief Minister's food. Just because it was a Sattvic food and, there were special ways of...
BJP is out. Talk about yourself now.
Pardon me?
BJP is out. Talk about yourself.
Oh,
want a
okay.
huge
That is,
mandate.
we are
This is
not
how you
taking a
waste
leaf
your
out of
mandate.
their book, but all that I'm
You're
trying to say.
wasting your
Okay,
mandate.
I got to wrap up.
money-
I got to wrap up, Mr. Timaya, Mr. Rao. Thank you very much. Like I said, I don't think it's particularly, being seen as a pro-people move or, with the people move that the Chief Minister, despite all the hardship that the state is going through financially and the daily problems that people in Bengaluru and other places in Karnataka are suffering, at the middle of this, to have a renovation of his office in the Vidhan Sabha complex, I'm not sure whether that necessarily sends the right message. But we'll take a break here on the program. When we come back on the other side, President-elect Donald Trump of the United States has announced Mike Huckabee as his nominee for the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Mr. Huckabee is an ardent supporter of Israel, and he is also a supporter of the idea of colonizing the settlements. He is all for annexation of parts of the West Bank, which of course would lead to a massive backlash in the Arab world. What may this mean? Would this be Mr. Trump's signal to Netanyahu that he now has a free run to continue doing not only what he's doing in Gaza, but perhaps a one-time offer to annex parts of the West Bank? I decode that on the other side of this quick break.
ओ भाई, अब दिन में भी काम करोगे?
तो क्या रात में सांप और तेंदुए के साथ काम करेंगे?
मैं तो रात को ही काम करता हूँ। दिन में काम किया तो बिजली का बिल बहुत आएगा।
इसीलिए सरकार ने सौर कृषि पंप योजना शुरू की है ना।
पर अब सरकार ही बदल गई और ये योजना बंद हुई तो?
नहीं नहीं, मेरा वोट भाजपा महायुति को। भाजपा महायुति है तो ही सौर कृषि पंप योजना है।
ओ मेरा यार पता ही नहीं चलता ये शादी के रंग आप पे कब चढ़ गए, कब चुपके से आप एक मान्यवर बन गए। आप कब बन रहे हैं मान्यवर?
विचार नए हैं तो अब नया विकास हो, पुरानी इस जमीन पे नया इतिहास हो। जरूरतें हैं पानी की जो दूर दूर तक, पियो ना ऊक से पियो जितनी भी प्यास हो। एक बार हमारा नाम लो तो एहसास हो, विचार नए हैं तो अब नया विकास हो। उन उंगलियों की खैर जो धागों को बुनती हो, फ्यूचर का ख्वाब देखो तो तकिए के पास हो। उड़कर चलो ना फ्लाईओवर से तो जानोगे हम कितना कुछ बनाते हैं विकास के लिए। उम्मीदें भर के देते हैं हर एक चीज में हम हैं ना, अगर आपकी उम्मीद खास हो। जुड़े हैं हम 140 करोड़ लोगों से, चारों ओर देखो तो एहसास हो। विचार नए हैं तो अब नया विकास हो। वेलस्पन वर्ल्ड।
अबे गुल्लू, क्या कर रहे हो?
कपाल भाती। यहाँ ऑर्डिनरी प्लाई जैसे हार्मफुल गैसेस नहीं है। खुल के सांस लो।
हाँ, यहाँ सब ग्रीन प्लाई, जीरो एमिशन प्लाई से तो बना है। अबे एक मिनट, हम भी करते हैं।
शाबाश, ग्रीन प्लाई का जीरो एमिशन प्लाई, हेनली इंटीरियर्स का रिप्लाई।
सर, आप बहुत लकी हैं कि आपके बेटे ने हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस और बाकी सारी फॉर्मेलिटीज टाइम से पूरी कर दी है।
मेरा बेटा?
तो फिर आप?
पॉलिसी बाजार।
क्लेम के टाइम पे हमेशा आपकी हेल्प को तैयार। पॉलिसी बाजार, 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 390 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
मजहब की बुनियाद पर मुल्क के 3 हिस्से करके हमें बहला रहे हैं।
मजहब में बांटना अंग्रेजों की राजनीति।
हमें एक इंडिपेंडेंट सॉवरेन पाकिस्तान चाहिए।
एक बार ये लकीर खींच गई, मिटाए नहीं मिटेगी।
फ्रीडम एट मिडनाइट, सोनी लिव पर।
The next Indian icons, beating everyone on the globe. A new perspective awaits. B6E and XEV9E. Mahindra's electric origin SUVs. Catch them at Unlimit India.
Sophia Vergara here. Despicable Me 4 streaming now only on Jio Cinema.
That is it. Do I make myself clear?
जब हिंदुस्तान मिले हिंदुस्तान से
Visit your nearest JK Tyre Steel Wheel store today.
अरे ऋषि आज स्कूल नहीं गए?
3 महीने से फीस नहीं भर पाई तो निकाल दिया स्कूल ने। कहीं आपके बाद आपके बच्चों के सपने न टूट जाएं। आज ही लीजिए पॉलिसी बाजार पे 2 करोड़ का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 690 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
अरे हाँ सच में।
क्यों? आज ऑफिस को छुट्टी है क्या?
हम अभी ऑफिस से ही तो आए हैं।
फिर इतने जल्दी घर कैसे?
ये कोस्टल रोड से और मैं मेट्रो से।
और कल अटल सेतु से लोनावाला जाने का प्लान है।
पर तुमने कभी ये सोचा है अगर दूसरी सरकार होती तो ये सब काम वक्त पे होता?
इसीलिए मेरा वोट सिर्फ भाजपा महायुति को। भाजपा महायुति है तो विकास है।
झंझनाहट से जल्द आराम पाएं सेंसोडाइन रैपिड रिलीफ के साथ।
The feelings take control. The feelings take control. Mama told me to be loved.
US President-elect Donald Trump has announced that he will nominate former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee as the US ambassador to Israel. This was one of the first ambassador appointments that the new president-elect has made since winning the November 5th election. Huckabee has a close relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He has repeatedly expressed support for Jewish settlers in the West Bank, and he has backed the idea of Israel annexing parts of the occupied West Bank. What does the appointment of Mike Huckabee mean in the ongoing war with Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon? Will this give Netanyahu and his far-right allies the elbow room to go ahead and annex parts of the West Bank? Does this once and for all put an end to the two-state solution and lead only to a one-state solution, with that lone state being the state of Israel? Israel already has its most pro-settler government in history, and some on the Israeli right are now hoping that Donald Trump's second stint in the White House will give them a blank check to go ahead and annex parts of the West Bank, along with razing Gaza to the ground. Trump, in his statement announcing Huckabee's appointment, said, and I quote, "Mike Huckabee loves Israel and the people of Israel. He will work tirelessly to bring about peace in the Middle East," unquote. In 2015, Huckabee had said that Israel has a stronger historical connection to the West Bank than even the United States had to Manhattan. In 2019, Huckabee said that he personally believed Israel had the right to annex parts of the West Bank. During his unsuccessful presidential run back in 2008, Huckabee said, and I quote, "There is really no such thing as a Palestinian." He's argued in the past that land for a future Palestinian state should be taken from other Arab states and not from Israel. Netanyahu considered announcing the annexation of parts of the West Bank late in Trump's first term in 2020, but he could not fully align with Trump's team on that issue. Now, not just with the appointment of Huckabee as America's new ambassador to Israel, but also the incoming ambassador of Israel to America, Yechiel Leiter, the right wing in Israel is hoping that this will be the most pro-annexation government on either side, both in Tel Aviv and in Washington, D.C. Right-wing members of Netanyahu's government have already called for annexations since Trump became victorious. The West Bank settlements are widely seen as illegal under international law. Annexing those occupied parts of the West Bank would spark a major international uproar. It could also potentially block any path to a viable Palestinian state. That would lead to widespread resentment in the Arab world. It would add to the growing flack that Israel is already receiving for the rising civilian casualties in Gaza on a daily basis. This move may not even be popular entirely within Israel. In fact, most Israelis realize that the only realistic solution to this decades-long conflict is to move to a sustainable two-state solution. merely going ahead and annexing parts of the West Bank and integrating Gaza into Israel will not make the Palestinian question go away. It'll just be put on the back burner, only for it to explode at a later stage. Mike Huckabee is an evangelical pastor and the host of a show on Trinity Broadcasting Network. He wanted to be appointed as ambassador to Israel during Trump's first term, but at that time, Trump decided to appoint his former lawyer, David Friedman, instead. Friedman was a candidate to return to the role for a second time, but this time around, the president-elect instead chose Huckabee. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has recently announced that Yechiel Leiter will be the next Israeli ambassador to Washington. Leiter, who will assume office on the same day as Trump will assume office for a second term, which is the 20th of January, is a settler himself. He's a long-time activist for the expansion of settlements. Never before have two diplomats in charge of the US-Israel relationship had such openly pro-annexation worldviews. Israel's ultra-nationalist Minister for Finance, Bezalel Smotrich, has also said this week that Trump's electoral victory brings with it an important opportunity to push for the annexation of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Smotrich said that Israel had been only one step away from annexing these settlements during Trump's first term, and now the time has come to do it. Smotrich has said that annexation of the settlements in the West Bank is the only way to prevent a Palestinian state from ever being established, and that he had already instructed his team to prepare to work with the new Trump administration on this issue as soon as possible. If Israel were to proceed with annexing parts of the West Bank, it would likely mark the effective end of a two-state solution. Now, a two-state solution has been the framework that has been central to the peace negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians for decades now. The two-state solution envisions an independent Palestinian state along with Israel, but annexation would fundamentally alter the territorial landscape. It would fragment Palestinian territories, it would diminish their claim to a viable state, and it would effectively negate any realistic prospect for a negotiated settlement that is based on mutual recognition of both Israel and an independent Palestinian state and their mutual coexistence. The reaction from Arab nations and the broader international community would also be swift and severe. Historically, Arab leaders have condemned any move towards annexation as a violation of international law. For instance, recent comments from various Arab officials from Saudi Arabia to Egypt have characterized any such move for annexation as dangerous and escalatory. They have warned that this could lead to increased violence in what is already a volatile region. Jordan's foreign minister, for example, has indicated that annexation could compel Jordan to reconsider its peace treaty with Israel. Israel currently has peace agreements with Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, all of which will be under strain. The Arab League has also expressed outrage at such a plan, viewing it as an affront to Palestinian rights and sovereignty. While Western nations have historically supported Israel's right to self-determination, many are also bound by international law, which prohibits the annexation of occupied territories. It goes against one of the first tenets of the UN Charter, but that has not stopped Israel in the past, including in the most recent invasion of Gaza. The European Union has already indicated that it would use diplomatic channels to discourage such a move, even though concrete actions like sanctions, we're not quite sure how much of an impact that would have on stopping Israel. The United Nations has also warned that annexation could lead to significant instability in both the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip. The UN says that could potentially trigger a new wave of violence in an already volatile region.
Viewers, this is a very big story tonight, very consequential, and it's taking place in the heart of the Union capital, barely a few kilometers from the Prime Minister's residence as the crow flies. Jamia Millia Islamia, that positions itself as the cradle of tolerance, that protested the CAA because it was anti-Muslim and therefore anti-secular and prejudiced against minorities, has in fact been exposed as a den of Hindu phobia. As viewers, one of the biggest hypocrites in town. The Hindus, viewers, have always been in a minority in Jamia. But over the last 10-15 years, their numbers have dwindled. Hardly any students or faculty belonging to the Hindu community either enrolls or works in Jamia anymore. A